Hello and welcome to Drama Recaps. Today, we delve into an American comedy drama from 2011 named The Rum Diary. Spoilers ahead. In the year 1960, we meet Paul Kemp, an American journalist and aspiring writer who travels to San Juan, Puerto Rico, to work for a local newspaper. While waiting outside the editor's office, he encounters Bob Sala, the paper's photographer who gives him a brief overview of the city. Soon, Kemp finds himself in the office of Edward Lauderman, the editor-in-chief. Edward is on the hunt for dynamic new team members to elevate the standing of the struggling newspaper. After being introduced to the team, Kemp visits the library and meets Hal Sanderson, who proposes a job offer to him. Later that night, Kemp and Sala enjoy drinks together, during which Sala admits that he was the sole applicant for his job. Sala also hints that the paper is on a downward trajectory, despite his colleagues' disagreement. Once the rest of their company departs, Sala introduces Kemp to the elusive Moberg, a newspaper correspondent whose drinking problem often keeps him away from the office. Kemp shares Sanderson's job proposal with Sala, seeking his advice. Sala reveals that Sanderson once worked for the newspaper but now operates independently as a realtor. He also mentions Sanderson's extensive network in the city, suggesting it could benefit Kemp. After dinner, Sala offers Kemp a place to stay and drops him back at his hotel. While spending his free time on a boat, Kemp encounters a young woman, Chanalt. She shares that she's escaping a dull business party by swimming. Captivated by her, Kemp attempts to converse further, but she leaves, leaving his queries unanswered. Over time, Kemp notices a safety issue in Puerto Rico. He tries to shed light on this issue in his article, but Edward rejects it to avoid discouraging tourism, advising Kemp to concentrate on the city's attractions instead. As they debate over the article, the ever-absent Moberg stumbles into the office. Edward threatens to fire Moberg, but he retorts, confident Edward can't sack him without settling his unpaid dues. Kemp defuses the situation, leading Edward back to his office, where he offers Kemp the opportunity to take over Moberg's role. During a trip to the airport for an upcoming story on the Miami Mayor's tour, Kemp runs into Sanderson again. Sanderson invites him for lunch, where he talks about his real estate work and the wealth to be made in it, as people are willing to pay extravagantly for land in Puerto Rico. At Sanderson's luxurious beachfront villa, Kemp unexpectedly encounters Chanalt and discovers that she is engaged to Sanderson. Chanalt, on her part, feigns ignorance about their previous meeting. During lunch, Sanderson proposes a job to Kemp, creating advertisements for his real estate venture to enhance its allure. Following his encounter with Sanderson, Kemp moves into Sala's apartment, accepting his offer of accommodation. Upon arrival, he finds the apartment in a state of disarray, further complicated by the fact that the often absent Moberg is a cohabitant. Though displeased, Kemp has no choice but to accept the situation given his lack of alternative living options. The following day, Sala introduces Kemp to a local cockfight, revealing how he earns money from it. Later in their apartment, while watching TV, Moberg makes an appearance. Sala explains to Kemp that Moberg routinely brings back residue filters from a rum factory, rich in alcohol. A disgruntled Moberg laments losing his job at the newspaper and fantasizes about harming Lauderman, only to be sent away by Sala. The subsequent morning, Kemp shares his latest article, focusing on the city's deplorable living conditions, with Edward. Edward, however, advises Kemp to maintain status quo, stressing that he cannot effect change. Edward elaborates that the newspaper's sponsors dictate its content, and the public isn't interested in the city's issues, only its vacation potential. Later, Kemp pays a visit to Sanderson's house and witnesses Sanderson and Chanalt in a romantic entanglement. Sanderson introduces his friends and business associates, Art Zimberger and his wife, to Kemp. He informs Kemp that Zimberger, a U.S. Marine, will collaborate with him on a future project. Tensions arise when locals approach the beach, and Sanderson dismisses them, claiming private ownership. This display of arrogance irks Kemp, yet he remains silent. During a party, Sanderson draws Kemp into a discussion with his associates, including Zimberger and Mr. Segura. They outline their new project to construct hotels on the island, soliciting Kemp's assistance in writing favorable articles. On their return from the party, Kemp confesses his feelings for Chennault to Sala. Sala warns Kemp to steer clear of her, given her relationship with Sanderson. They then stop at a roadside hotel for a meal, only to be rejected by the waitress claiming they're closed. Sala confronts the owner demanding dinner, which leads Kemp to sense brewing hostility from the owner and his local companions. He suggests to Sala that they should leave nonchalantly to avoid conflict, but their departure triggers a chase by the disgruntled locals. Sala is overcome with fear, fearing they might get hurt, while Kemp tries to intimidate the locals. Just when they find themselves surrounded and a fight breaks out, the police intervene. They're taken to the police station and charged with several offenses, including assault and injuring a police officer during the brawl. The prosecutor plans to incarcerate them for 30 days, but Sanderson intervenes and bails them out. The next morning, Sala and Kemp return to where they abandoned their car the previous night. They find the vehicle damaged by the vengeful locals, but Sala manages to get it running again. Following an eventful ride home, Kemp convenes with Sanderson's team, who inform him about a property lease about to be relinquished by the US military, which they intend to exploit. Upon hearing their ambitious plans to develop an entire estate, Kemp voices his apprehension. He initially believed they were just building a single hotel. The team reassures him this is just the beginning. Following the meeting, Kemp is required to sign a non-disclosure agreement to keep their business plans confidential. Agreeing to these terms, Kemp asks Sanderson for a favor in return. Sanderson compensates him monetarily and gifts him a new car, asking him to pick up Chennault from his house. At Sanderson's place, Chennault tells Kemp about an upcoming carnival and urges him to attend, despite not having been invited by Sanderson. On their return journey, a romantic tension develops between Kemp and Chennault, which they resist. Back at the apartment, Sala informs Kemp that their previous night's escapade has been reported in the newspaper. This concern proves to be valid, as Edward reprimands them for their reckless behavior. Seeing Sala distressed, Kemp invites him to the island and proposes that they attend the carnival together. On the island, Mr. Zimberger elaborates on their plans for constructing hotels and beachfront resorts. Kemp and Sala later deliberate on Sanderson's project. Kemp predicts the project will be disastrous for the locals, who stand to lose their land, yet he recognizes Sanderson's apathy. Upon arrival at the carnival, Sanderson is displeased to find Sala accompanying Kemp. He chastises Kemp for revealing the island and their business deal to Sala, but Kemp reassures him that Sala won't spill the beans. While on a boat, Kemp and Chennault share an intimate moment. Kemp opens up to Chennault about his aspirations to improve his writing skills. Following dinner, Kemp departs the party to join his friends, and Chennault insists on accompanying him. Despite Sanderson's objections, Chennault disregards his concerns and leaves with Kemp. At a local club, an intoxicated Chennault dances with the locals, which angers Sanderson. He attempts to intervene, only to get ejected from the club by security. The next morning, Kemp encounters an incensed Sanderson who blames him for the previous night's events and calls off their business arrangement. Upon returning home, they find Moberg in the apartment, who informs them of Lauderman's departure and the impending closure of the newspaper. He presents them with a unique hallucinogen, which under its influence, Kemp gains a moment of clarity and resolves to expose Sanderson's real estate fraud. Unexpectedly, Chennault reappears and seeks refuge with them. Later, Kemp confronts a returned Lauderman, requesting him to publish the exposé on Sanderson. When Lauderman refuses, Kemp recognizes the challenges within the journalistic world and contemplates his next steps. Feeling guilty for the turmoil, Chennault apologizes to Kemp, who assures her that the chaos has brought him clarity about his need to disclose the fraudulent dealings rather than be complicit. A court notice arrives, revealing Sanderson has retracted his bail, rendering them fugitives. As Sala goes to consult with their lawyer, Moberg arrives with news of the newspaper's imminent shutdown. Kemp resolves to publish one final issue spotlighting Sanderson's illicit activities, but is informed they lack the necessary resources. Kemp then discovers a note from Chennault, indicating she has departed for New York and left behind a $100 bill. Kemp decides to gamble the money on a cockfight to raise funds. He shares this plan with Sala and Moberg, who agree. They seek the blessings of Moberg's witch friend, Papa Nebo, for their fighting cock to secure a victory. After winning the cockfight, they return to the office only to discover Sanderson's men have seized the printing press, thus dashing their hopes of publishing the final issue. Nevertheless, Kemp presses on and departs Puerto Rico aboard one of Sanderson's boats. The movie concludes with a post-credits scene, revealing Kemp's return to New York. He marries Chennault and matures into a successful and respected journalist, finally unlocking his true potential.